Alrighty then. What's up, y'all? How's it going? Surprise, surprise, surprise. The massive rally continues. One of the biggest, the most longest sustained rallies I have ever seen. And that's saying a lot, considering 2021, 2020, 2023. And, yeah, last half of 2024, and of course now. Still going. New all-time highs across the board. The S&P, new all-time highs. SPY, new all-time highs. NASDAQ, new all-time highs. And of course, RTY is not. So, yeah, this is now, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 green sessions in a row with a massive bottom wick on the 10th prior. So, 10 bullish sessions in a row and still going. I think you can play Gaz's "Why Does the Market Still Keep Climbing" YouTube video, because it certainly applies. Non-farm payroll numbers came out, and it's blowing all the analysts' minds. Everyone that wants to hate Trump so much. The numbers continue to be extraordinary. It's crazy. It's crazy. 62.95 here, coming up to the top ticket, 62.96. We've got liquidity 23,000 on NASDAQ. On ES, we have 6,300, 6,310, 6,320, and that is it for the day. What's up, Damien? Good morning, buddy. Glad to see you back. Hopefully, I'm sorry to hear about your troubles. It's not good, man. I know family issues are tough. I just noticed that Microsoft has doubled since November. Have you seen the Microsoft chart? It's ridiculous. Microsoft's chart is ridiculous. Good morning, Arctic Wolf. How you doing, buddy? Welcome, welcome. Still going. Market is now open, of course, and the market is flying. Flying. We are up 23 points on ES, 130 on NASDAQ. RTY is the only one showing signs of top wick, and that's only because of a little bit of resistance and a little bit of a trend line. The Dow, 44,859. Let me get my screen where I need it to be. Application, volume analysis. There you go. Gold dropped precipitously. They bounced at a low confidence area, although they put on a high confidence VPA signal, and they have retraced about 50% of the mark. Oil still holding 67, kind of dealing with this mid 60 area, flagging up from yesterday's highs. PL rejecting their long-term signal nicely. This is a two-time major rejection off of this 1430 area. If they can close it, we might have an actionable swing position. We've already taken our first scalp short. The swing position may come into effect if we can get a close below 1358 on PL. That'd be nice. RTY is top wicking nicely here into the support resistance zone, but still overall not crazy for a swing short on that one. NASDAQ is doing what NASDAQ does, which is pulling back on the stick, applying full afterburner, and trying to achieve Mach 10 before they shut the program down. Still going. What's up, Terry? Put it in reverse, Terry. Welcome, welcome. Be on the lookout later this afternoon for the first podcast episode being posted in a while. I'm excited. It's going to be a good time. Remember, today is a short day. The market closes early today. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, 1 p.m. Market closes. And then, of course, the market's closed tomorrow for the 4th of July. So, there you go. What I have found success in on the prop firm the last few days, instead of playing 1 minis, I've been playing 10 micros. I think the problem is playing 1 mini would be too quick to take profit, reaching my profit target due to fear of it going against me once in profit. But now with 10 micros, I can scale out 2 or 3 on the way. Nice. I like it. I like it. Anything to mitigate your risk, man. I love it. Just think through the problem. Think through the problem. Still going, of course. I still maintain the same thesis. You cannot short this market unless you have the 3 criteria. Long or do nothing. Do not. I mean, look at look at the daily chart. This is 10 days in a row of gap up, gap up, gap up. I mean, it's literally steamrolling everyone. No matter what the market throws at it, it's going. So do not short unless you've got the 3 criteria. I was dead wrong about my thesis this week. My thesis this week was a temporary, very small pullback to recollect inventory. Or was it last week? No, last week. And then fly higher. Well, they didn't even bother pulling back. They didn't even bother pulling back last week. They just rocketed. And of course, this week, they're doing the same thing. So, you cannot short anything unless you have the 3 criteria. That's all there is to say here. ES is precipitously bullish. Same thing with the NASDAQ. They said they want fireworks everywhere for July 4th. Yep. Yep. 6,300. Still going. Let me open spot gamma. The market is mostly green. Google's up 0.2, Meta's up 2, Amazon's up 1.17, Microsoft is 0.8, Nvidia is 0.5. Apple is red. When Apple's red, everything else is green. When everything else is red, Apple is green. Apple apparently has become the contrarian indicator lately. All of the X's are green except for XLP, RE. What are the yields doing after non-farm? They are bright, bright green. 2.5% green on the 2-year, whereas TLT is down 0.5%. Every single time they try to discuss the concept of rate cuts, data comes out, and then the probability of a rate cut plummets. Now they're not anticipating a rate cut until 2026. What's gone from 50 basis points in March of 2025 has now gone to no rate cuts until 2026, maybe. Heck, at this point. And then, in fact, you see the Fed chair yesterday, they released a comment that says the only reason why Jay Powell is waiting to cut is because of the tariffs. Interesting. Unless Powell gets canned, yeah. Silver, yeah. Silver barely checked up before a nice little support. That for me was the only real major confident bounce. But they missed it. They missed it by what? 20 cents. ES is absolutely rocketing. There's 6,300 through the liquidity. NASDAQ is absolutely rocketing. Still going. Nothing else to see here. Just an absolutely extraordinary daily chart. Just bull, 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 baby. Keep going. There's no more resistance to the upside. There's no more resistance to the upside, so all you can really go by is options positioning. We've already blown through 6,200. We've blown through 6,250. And now they're 6,300. They're blowing through every major resistance as if it's not even there. I cannot stress enough the momentum this market has at the moment. This is what we experienced in 2021. Can you look at gold? Let's take a look. Gold. Let's go to the daily real quick. So this is gold's chart. Now, gold's been back and forth for a while. I haven't really looked at gold since we took the long on Monday. The big bottom wick from the 29th low was the main entry. We took entry. I haven't really looked at it since then because, to me, I'm not trying to scalp. Y'all love scalping. I'm done with scalping. I'm trying to take high confidence outlier areas, which gold I'll need to wait until the next one. So we do have a bottom wick off of this minor retest of the 3310. It could be a W of sorts. If they close this and get over 3369, then you could start playing back up to new all-time highs on gold. However, the interesting concept about gold here is typically when gold starts to move strongly in the upward trajectory, we usually get an opposite reaction on the equities. That could line up with a mid to late July rollover, which I'm anticipating. Obviously, I was wrong last week. My thought process is no matter how bullish July opens for the S&P, we are going to face red until the end of July because that is typically what happens. The market breadth dries up. We have a rollover end of July into August after a very, very bullish period. And that could line up with gold going bullish. You want to take a look, but right now in terms of price action, Still very bullish. They're still holding 33.22. If they close and hold over 33.70, I'd play to new all-time highs. Going to talk about Tesla. Yes, so Tesla gapped down with volume. Now they're coming back up for a retest. If they reject this 319, still bearish. This is the 319 retest is the area on which you need to pay attention to. If you want a long and we close over 319, you could play probably up to 355. You know, Tesla continues to bottom wick all of these news-related events. Every time it's gapped down like this is because of a news-related event. Trump-Elon fight, another Trump-Elon fight, bottom wick back up into 317. And of course, that's the daily chart on the S&P. Crazy stuff. $63.03. Are you sharing the ticker chart? I am, yep. Good morning. What's up, highly on average? Saw you talk about the 3 criteria yesterday, and again right now, what are they? Is it for shorting or just... It's for shorting or longing. So if you want to play a counter trend trade, whether it be up or down, you have to wait for the what I call the 3 criteria. In the case of an uptrend that you want to play to the downside, you need to wait for a top wick, you need to wait for high volume, and you need to wait for the close of a low or a prior candle. That's the only way you want to play an actionable short after a very sustained uptrend. And same thing if you're trying to play a bounce. And I will say, playing a bounce is much easier than playing a top wick. Trying to short a market like this is nearly impossible. Nearly. However, the market always tends to bounce. So if you are going to play that, if you want to be a counter trend trader, it's definitely easier to be a bullish counter trend trader, not a bearish counter trend trader. Trump will be speaking to Putin at 10 a.m. Isn't he talking to Zelensky too? $6,300. Still going. Do you include the wick into the close above under the contract? It's just the close of the candle. So whatever the price action is, it has to close below the close of or prior to the candle, whether it be top or bottom wick. If they come to a deal this weekend, the market's going to go nuts. I mean, who knows, man? Probably. Probably. This rally is absolutely extraordinary. Imagine a time where the S&P can drop 25% and recover 25% in the matter of 6 months. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's a great time we live in, man. This is why you need to have long-term stocks. All right, options right now. Let's go take a look. 420 million puts. 411 million calls. We do have data coming up at the top of the hour. I'm concentrating on your 3 criteria, long or short. Either way, I'm dedicating myself to that rule. Do it. Do it. Happy for my dad who just retired. Oh, yeah. Keep an eye on that, Dan, because in the last 4 minutes, we went from 100 million in puts to 400 million in puts, and we went from 700 million in calls to 300 million in calls. So they've essentially flipped 800 million delta notional into the put side of things. I just have a feeling today's going to be a low volume day. Oh, 100%. It's a short holiday week. It's going to be most likely what we'll do is we'll put on this crazy opening 15, 30-minute move, and then we'll just chop back and forth for the rest of the day. I'm mad about the gains I missed out from April. I thought we would continue lower. I was not done accumulating shares. Well, that's 100% why I have a long-term portfolio. That's why I've never divested from my long-term portfolio, is because no matter what happens to me in the short-term trading, I'm always long. I'm always net long in the market. no matter what. Get out of here, peacock. Question: What's up, Z-Man? I've been watching your lives the last few weeks. I mainly do trend lines and I've found some success trading. How do you recommend I get into options and get to your level of knowledge? Well, I am about to release a podcast over that exact thing, which I'll post when I'm ready, when I'm done with it. But how do you get to my level? Um, I've had to survive multiple deaths, ego deaths, to get to where I am. And I'm still of the opinion that trading is 90% mental, 10% knowledge. This trading is not that difficult from a technical perspective. I think we tend to overcomplicate it. And not tend. I think we absolutely do overcomplicate it. We throw the kitchen sink at the wall and see what we can come up with in terms of trading, when it really all it is high volume buying, high volume selling. Be on the right side of the market. Everything else is just mental. You have to get out of your way. It's not about being right. It's about making money. And it's taken me over a decade and a half to get to where I am here. That's why I'm very, very skeptical of people who say that they are very successful after 1 year of trading, because I don't know how you can come up to that level of success in 1 year. So it takes time. And then, of course, absolutely study. Read. Get in the books, back test, all the other fun stuff. Now, how are you going to do options? Options are, in terms of an execution standpoint, same exact thing as futures. You just have to understand the Greek side of options. You have to understand the inherent risk of options, the time value. What's all that flickering? What flickering? I don't know. Still going. 6,300. Crazy stuff, bro. Crazy stuff. There's a girl I watched on YouTube a couple years ago. I don't endorse her or anything. I just haven't watched her in a long time. She calls herself the humbled trader. All I know is a great way to consider a proper mindset of a trader. Yep. Did you take that peacock with you to your farm? All the peacocks were at my farm. So all the peacocks that I had were here. But every day I've made it a habit to go outside and throw rocks at all the peacocks. And so far they've finally gotten the memo. Stay away. Sounds harsh, but it's either rocks or 12 gauge. And I promised Mrs. Ohm I wouldn't kill the peacocks. Am I going to eat a peacock? Not unless the economy fails. Wild peacocks, they're quasi wild, I suppose. They're the neighbors, but she's like an 85-year-old woman, and she just kind of lets them free roam the whole street. So they all stay at our house. So. You need to put up mirrors away from the house. Yeah, but I'm not going to line my house with mirrors. I'm of the opinion I am not going to alter my quality of life for any animal. Dogs, cats. I'm just not that type of dude. Like letting the people that let dogs in their house and get hair and poop and scratches all over their home. To me, that's asinine. That's complete mental. I'm going to work hard so I can let an animal destroy my home? No. Not going to do it. Animals are utility, period. I don't know. Some people might be more triggered than that than political talk. Who knows? 63.10, 63.20, still going. Not. Yeah, it's not. iDogs are utility. That's what I'm saying. Sri Lanka has a wild peacocks. It's so beautiful watching so many of them fly. Yeah, they are beautiful animals. That's why I tried to feed them and become friends with them. And then they started literally all of my window screens on the back of the house. They now have all holes in them because they spur the crap out of them because they wanted more food. So they would literally sit at the window for 48 hours, not move, and sit there and spur the window every 30 seconds. So I was like, all right, well, they're pooping all over my extremely expensive porch, and they're spurring all my windows. So it's like I'm either gonna kill them or I'm gonna throw rocks at them until they leave. But luckily they're smart and they left. So anyway, still going here. 63.07. We do have data in 11 minutes. Peacocks in Alaska. Yeah. What should I be looking for in a stock if I plan on selling options? That depends on your capital, man. If capital's not a problem, then just buy 1,000 shares of the S&P and write 10 covered calls on them every now and then. It really depends on how much money you're looking for. I would not sell options on a stock that's prone to very large moves in a single day, like 10. One of those crazy low floats that are 7 to 10 to 15% moves in a day. Don't do that. So find yourself a steady name that's quite directional that you could predict, like an index name or the top 10, top 20. Not to mention that falls in line with the amount of capital you've got that you can buy, and then sell options on them, sell covered calls on them, or cash secured puts if you've got just cash and you don't want to buy the shares. Either one. That's what I would recommend. The Humble Trader is great. She blew up multiple accounts and documented it, and she talks about it freely and openly. She posts losses and shows the reality of it. She's on vacation, lost money, made way more money later with the same strategy and patience. That's all it is. That's all it is. So yeah. But let me know. I'll be always happy to help you. And I know someone mentioned yesterday that they want to discuss the concept of selling options, which we can do. All right, so in typical fashion, we're already back to the grind. We launched, and now we're just kind of back and forth in the 6,300 area. Let's take a look at the options data. 1.1 billion in calls, 270 million in puts. So aggressively bullish. Aggressively bullish. Here's some data. Aggressively bullish. Look at that. Pepperoni. Little pepperoni with cheese. What was that? Boom. Still going. Still going, baby. Why is the VIX creeping up? If the VIX is creeping up alongside this market, let me go take a look. That could possibly mean that we've reached a point where the market will finally start to pile into a little bit of protection. Hedging, that's it. Now, that is not an immediate reaction. You see the VIX start to creep up with the S&P, that's not saying go pile into shorts. That means if the VIX starts doing this day after day for like a week, you start to see green VIX, green markets. Then after about a week, you start to look for a short-term, very small pullback at least as they start to pile in a little hedges, deltas change, and the parameters change. This is a crazy, crazy market. Look, 63.12 is the liquidity, 800 orders. NASDAQ has 23,000. 23 smackaronis. 1.5 billion in calls launching. They are just piling into 0DT calls. This, if you're wondering what's causing all this action the past 2 weeks, it's not volume. The volume is abysmal. It's options. This is such an aggressive move. The past 4 years have been so aggressive because the past 4 years we have 0 DTE options, which have never been done before. So we're getting these crazy prolonged sustained moves on very low volume. And it's called, like literally, I think the past 7 days, it's just nothing but a billion in calls, a billion in calls, a billion in calls every day. And here we are, 30 minutes into the open, 1.5 billion in calls, and we're just launching 0 DTE calls. It's just crazy. Absolute craziness. Trace indicator, we have 6280 is the 6280 is resistance on SPX for the day. 6280. 1.6 billion in calls. They're going exponential with it. Feeling your plums. They're going exponential with it, homies. Here's 63 thou. Can we get 63 like 10 or 20? Or I'm sorry, 23. Same thing with the S&P. Crazy, crazy day. Here we go. We're about to see 23,000 for the first time. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? Uh-oh, John's joining in on the perverted fun. Oh my gosh. Y'all are crazy. 1.7 billion in 0DT calls. Still going. 23,000. Watch it. Watch it pump. If you're going to short something like that, again, 3 criteria. Wait for the sweep. But this is just off to the races. You shouldn't even be thinking shorts yet. It's just nothing but longs. Pants, baby. Pants in July. Pantalones. Can we get it? Crazy stuff, bro. Crazy, crazy stuff, bro. 63.14 on ES. NASDAQ is going. There we go. Now we're going for 23.025. We are in a capitulation mode here. This is aggressive with a capital A. Aggressive with a capital A. Wow. Crazy stuff, dude. Crazy, crazy stuff. We are here to pump you up. Get out of here. How? The unfortunate part about that movie is it was entertainment. A lot of it was fake. It was like I forget what they called it. Kind of like, wrestling. Are these 0DT calls mainly used by the market makers, and are they able to back up their liquidity more economically? To the first question, I don't know. I would assume, but I don't know for sure. Speculation. The second one, I would say that's probably a good comment. Yeah. There's no better. I call it dynamic hedging. Hedging a la carte, if you will. Back in the day, and I mean like 4 years ago, before 0DT options, dealers had to hedge with longer, if not long-dated options. So they had to speculate. The VIX was more true to the nature. If the market was beginning to price in some sort of event, or if they are going to hedge, they had to put on a couple of weeks options. So you would see the VIX start to slowly rise as the higher we go, because they'd have to hedge, as they always have to and should do, at the highs. They hedge calls at the lows, they hedge puts at the highs. With the influx of 0DT options, now you could dynamically hedge an event as needed on a 24-hour basis very cheaply. So instead of putting hundreds of thousands of hundreds of millions of dollars into a weekly hedge, they can put 10 to 15 to 20,000, speaking on a small scale, into a 0DT option and hedge multiples. Because if you get a 50-point move down on the S&P with a 0DT option, you can make hundreds and hundreds of percents, if not thousands of percents, depending on timing. And that's causing this massive move here. And Spot Gamma talked about this 4 years ago when they started implementing 0DT options. They said that 0DT options are great, but it's going to cause a major volatility move in the market. Kind of like what happened in 1987, except different process. And that's what we're seeing here. Like, these are incredibly low volume moves, but it's just driven by 0DT options. What's your best advice for scalping? I feel like get destroyed trying to trade like you do now. Don't scalp. I'm not scalping. I've taken less than 10 trades in 2 weeks. I'm trying to keep y'all from doing that in the chat. Forget about the 10-point moves. Don't jump up and down and pat yourself on the back for a 10-point move. Your job is to wait for a high-value move. Look at this. Look at this. The signals channel. I'm only posting the outlier pivots, because that's what you need to be focusing on. I want you waiting for the weekly low, weekly high, the monthly high, monthly low on any name. So pick out 10 names. Pick out futures, whichever. Futures, stocks, doesn't matter. Pick out 10 names, do your plotting this weekend, and look for major pivots. Plot them. The weekly highs and lows, the monthly highs and lows, the prior session highs and lows, and only trade when the market touches those levels. Don't forget about the little 15-minute fluctuations back and forth, because that's going to turn you into a scalper. I promise you, the past 2 weeks have been the best trading I've done since, in terms of execution, in my opinion, it's the best trading I've done all year. Now, not returns, because the volatility with the first quarter was incredible. But in terms of execution, it's been the best I've done all year, because I'm literally low stress, kicking back, sipping on my coffee. I'll take one trade on a high value pivot. I take my hands off and make the money. I'm not sitting there worried about every little fluctuation. Now, yes, I'm missing out on a lot of this rally, just fly. But that's okay. I don't mind. I took a long yesterday at 22,600. I got about 100 points out of it, and that's all I need. The more you trade, the more you lose. The more frequent you trade, the higher probability that you are unprofitable. I promise you. Is it a given markets are going to go up today because of July 4th? It's America, baby. It's America. It's sacrilegious to have a red day on July 4th, the day before July 4th. Still going. Still going. There goes NASDAQ. Absolutely flying. What a monster move. Wow. When does it stop? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Absolute monster move, dude. Crazy stuff. 63.32 building liquidity. All right, let's go take a look at options. 1.5 billion in calls, 100 million in puts. They're literally just going to squeeze this market. What's your advice on sizing, for example, the 600 bounce? Well, again, sizing is very dependent on the individual, on your experience and your capital. I only took one NASDAQ. I took one NASDAQ mini yesterday. I talked about that yesterday. Because it wasn't a major pivot. It was a nice pivot. It was a weekly low. But it wasn't like a monthly low or an all-time high low or something like that. So because I front ran it, because I didn't wait for much confirmation, I just took one mini. And it was low stress. Didn't care about it. Just moved my stops up, and there you go. Still going. Massive. Holy crap. What is even going on here? It is amazing. Absolutely freaking flying. 6%. Microsoft is up 6%. No, I'm sorry, 1%. I was looking at the change. I'm an idiot. 1%. $6, 1%. Didn't move the percentage sign. Still going. 200 points on NASDAQ. Still going all day long, all day strong. What would you do if you shorted out of tune? I've taken one entry today. My mom took one entry. Y'all influencing my cat now. This dude is getting in on the oh my gosh. Nice, Twizzy. Well done, buddy. Still going. What was that? What was what? The cats? If you're short today, this is what happens. Yeah, if you're short today, yeah, FBI's coming for you. It's un-American to short today. Look at all the volume, baby. It's all green. Just rocket ships. Now you're comment after 12. I don't know what you're talking about. I know nothing. I see nothing. Took 200% on SPY and left a few in earnings. Beautiful. 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 What a freaking day. Let's go take a look at ES. ES has 6320 liquid. Coming up. Massive engulfing green candles. Off to the races. I'm going to tell you, I don't want to hear anything about, oh, I tried to short and blew up my account. Do not short unless you hit the 3 criteria. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm going to give you tough love if you DM me that crap today. Anyone know how to keep TopStep X from generating news data pop-ups on my screen? I don't have that. I don't know. I got something for you to short. I'm long, baby. Oh my gosh. Iran has decided against taking further action against the U.S. Oh, good. I'm glad they're not going to take. I'm not going to. Yeah. That's like a 5th grader telling him he's going to beat up a senior. All right, bro. Not sure I've heard one cackle like that. Sorry. Anybody doing any good smoking some meat this week? Tomorrow? I'm smoking a big meat tomorrow. It's going to be great. Got my new Traeger grill. 6317 ES come to 6320 liquidity. NASDAQ 23050. Options are just absolutely flowing into the calls. Ooh, nope, yep. 1.8 billion in calls, 100 million in puts. Flying, flying, flying. Flying, flying, flying. Part of me feels like if we go to war with Iran, it'll be a Desert Storm Part 2. I don't know, man. We would wipe Iran off. I don't think we would have a ground war. We would wipe them. I mean, I can't say that. We would smoke Iran in about 7 days. It would be like Grenada. I don't even know how Iran is even in the conversation of global power. Like never mind. But it's yeah. It's terrible. Would this be a good imbalance to look at going into Monday? Yeah. Every day is imbalance after imbalance. When you're playing a trend like this, you literally just have to hang on and that's it. There's not really much analysis to be had here except the retest, which you get far and few between retests. So it's either trade other names like PL, which is rejecting nicely. You know, it's rejecting, if you look at the daily, it's rejecting nicely. Here, in fact, I'll show the tube of you. It's rejecting nicely right in the zone. The Dow's still breaking out to 45. Oh, so there you go. Signals channel. The Dow just hit my target. We had bullish absorption to 43.4. 45,000 was my target. We just tapped it. So there you go. I'll update the signals channel. Silver hanging out at 37 Gs. Oil still toying with 67 after basing into 63. So just go look at other names. If you're not comfortable trading the relentless blast off move here, change other names, trade other names. Oh, I'm just trying to figure out what they could say without getting. No, it's yeah. I have to be, with my experience, I have to be careful with the things that I reveal. I'm sure most of it's open source anyway, but I'm not even going to put myself in that position. NASDAQ 23050. Is this going to be the sweep, or is this going to keep on going? A real Munson. Fun fact about me, one of my favorite movies as a kid was The Kingpin, because I was a big bowler when I was a kid. 2305. Still going. All that liquidity. Still going. Next 5-minute algorithm, of course, is green. Still going. Is this seller capitulation? That's the question. Is this capitulation? 6317. 23050. They've blasted through everything. There's no signs of resistance. We just tapped the 50 resistance liquidity. There's no more liquidity higher on the book, so maybe we finally have just a temporary top wick. I don't know. There's no sign of it. It's still freaking going. 056, 057. That's the last amount of liquidity on the book here. We'll see what happens. $63.20 liquidity is dropping. Nice. Absolute rocket ship of a day. I'm hard to believe this is happening. Still going. Absolute monster day. $23.055. We've just finished up the last amount of liquidity on the book, although they're starting to sprinkle in a little bit up top. But it's the last amount of liquidity on the book. We're in outer space. Oh, it's just going, baby. It's just going. $0.60 coming up. $1.8 billion in calls, $250 million in puts, and we're still going. Not a single top tick on the 5-minute. Not a single top tick anywhere. It's just going. Hard to believe, baby. Hard to believe. Hard to believe it's still going. I think this is a bigger trend than 2021. This is outrageous. Still going. Not a single cause for entry for me. So once again, for like 2 weeks straight, I'm just watching. I'm just watching. Don't act like you didn't see this. In celebration of America Day, I'd like to remind everyone the server of great work. Oh, appreciate that, Twizzy. Thank you. It's great to be here. $23.06, still going. What happens after market squeeze all the shorts? Well, that once sellers capitulate, which means once sellers start to buy broad market wide, then is when you drop. When the people stop shorting, that's when the market drops. But we don't know when that is. This is relatively new behavior. The market typically has never done this the past 4 years. So, we're dealing with this stuff, and we have to survive month-long, absolute, relentless bull runs. So you just long. That's it. You buy when you think you shouldn't buy. You buy calls when you think you shouldn't. And you just yeah, that's it. Crazy idea to buy a Lotto 0D call credit spread. I would not. I would not. Yeah, long term. That's why I said you've got to have long term investments. Absolutely have to have long term investments. Absolutely have to have long term investments. 2305. I caught 20% levels are golden. Thank you, sir. Do have a question I want to ask. How do you trade when, let's say, example, yes, let's say morning open? My 5 and 15 are trending bearish. Price action itself is bullish. How does one trade this? Well, I usually don't trade the first 15, 30 minutes. Rarely. So, like, opens like this for me are very difficult. When it just launches and never stops, which we keep getting day after day after day, it's difficult for me to get an entry the first half hour. So, unfortunately, if I'm not already in a trade, I have to sit there and watch this, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just wait for a high value pivot and I take it. If I don't get a trade that day, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. So, my advice to you is just wait. Wait for your signals. And that's it. First red candle all day and immediately bottom wicked. So you need the three criteria. Unfortunately, the three criteria would have you waiting about 60 points on the 15-minute because this is such an exponential move. So it's a very difficult move to short. You may not be able to wait for that low touch if that's what you want to do. Yields are also skyrocketing. Yep. That's the harder part of all this is waiting. Honestly, by far the hardest part. Oh, yeah, 100%. You feel like you're missing out. FOMO, greed, fear, emotions. If anyone wants to go short, let me know and I'll go long. It'll turn down. Don't think like that, Mike. Come on. Crazy, crazy stuff, bro. Crazy, crazy stuff. Let's see. I know a compliment I went pretty often, but in all seriousness, has taught me the most important thing to all this is patience. I'm still learning and making mistakes, but I'm learning and profiting from it. I have more green days than ever. Beautiful, Matt. I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate you. Fear leads to anger. Yeah, that's definitely right. That's definitely right. Appreciate that, Matt. It's good to know I'm making some value. Let's see. To combat FOMO, I've struggled immensely. I've been making myself focus on pulling out my broker when it approaches the SR and pivot levels. There you go. There you go. Hey, look, bottom wick. Yep. Every red candle is immediately bottom wicked. Seems like they're going to need more and more volume to more and more bulls to keep this price action up. Well, look, I mean, even now, the volume is not all that crazy. It's all 0 DTE options. This is throwing this thing into the stratosphere. The volume on this is terrible. Look at the volume on this. I mean, we're talking abysmally low volume. But it's 0 DT volume, or 0 DT options. On the 3 criteria, it doesn't matter which candle gets the volume. Depends. Look, bottom wick about to go higher. It depends. So it's got to be as the candle enters the supply. As long as it's not before the supply, it doesn't necessarily have to be the candle with the top wick, but it has to be at least when you touch the supply. It has to show, bam, I've hit supply and I've hit contracts. Here's a sell order, volume spikes. What's up, Wood Loot? How are we looking? Super green. Lilu. Still going. Not really much else to do here. Y'all taking a trade today? I haven't taken any trade during the session. No, it's just going. It's just going. Absolute rocket ship move. Days like today, or moves like this the past 2 weeks, it makes me, I wish I could be a fly on the wall on Wall Street and just watch what those guys are doing and talking about. What should we look for as a climax for this buying? If you want to see a selling climax, which would be an indication for downside, you need to see, most likely, an aggressive top wick. Hopefully that aggressive top wick is right after an aggressive move up. So like you would come to a resistance, you'd have some consolidation, you'd have a huge green candle upwards to get like quickly, and then it would smash hammer candle with volume. That's the optimum way. It doesn't always happen that way, but that's optimum. With volume, of course, and then a close below the prior low. That's a selling climax. That would give you indication it's time to come down. We haven't gotten that yet. So in this case, there's no indication we've hit supply yet. We had a little volume there at the 950 candle, but we're still bottom wicking everything. You can lease a seat on the Wall Street. Yeah, by how much? $1 million? It's crazy. $20K a week, yeah. $63.18. Just waiting for a move. Just waiting for a signal. Last thing I want to do is put on a terrible trade into a long weekend. That's the worst. How do you think other traders make money without VPA? They don't. Regardless if it's actual VPA, in my opinion, if you don't have an understanding of order flow, if you don't have an understanding of what price action is, I think there's virtually zero chance you are profitable. If you rely on anything other than volume or price action, I think there's zero chance you're profitable. In my opinion. Doesn't have to be necessarily VPA, and that's my opinion. Why do we have to hate on it? I'm not hating on other trader trading. It's just truth. Why do you think the average person is on trading? It's just you have to have an understanding of volume and price action in order flow to understand what the market is. There's no other way to trade, otherwise it would be done. That's not hating on other systems. That's just the way it is. Just so I have this right, I can see NASDAQ and the ES volume going lower since open. So this indicates some change in near future. Well, that's not necessarily. The volume always drops as the market trends like this. NASDAQ, ES doesn't matter. As the market goes up like this, the volume always dissipates. The real anomaly comes when we have an outlier move that's not supported with volume. Or if we have a very small move with a very large amount of volume. That's an anomaly. But this is normal. To have the volume drop off on a trend like this is normal. $63.20. We have 23,050. Still going. Let's see. 1.7 billion calls, 440 million in puts. We have no high volume spikes in the past 20 minutes on ES. NASDAQ had one on that big candle there into 23.8 and into the 26 area. Platinum is still rejecting nicely. That's the trade I should have taken. That was the only one listed in my signals channel there. That would have been nice. SI, CL. When I was with my cousin who was a broker office in Paris, he had no indicators on his chart, only levels. He only trades long term. Beautiful. That's the way to do it, baby. It's a crazy move, dude. Is MACD and RSI just acting as a distracting? All that stuff is pattern recognition. RSI, MACD, anything that you draw on your chart that's not actual data, like volume and price action, is just pattern recognition. Do I say it's unvaluable? No, because it does help you identify a pattern. If you can exploit a pattern, a continued pattern, then cool. My point is the understanding conceptually of the market has to be based on order flow and volume, period. So that stuff, take with it as you will, but it's just pattern recognition. $63.20. Still going. When I removed everything but volume and SR levels, my trading changed for the better. I keep on getting the positive DMs, man. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's all it is. RTY is coming down, 22.56 down to 22.50. RTY is rejecting nicely. Got on late. Did I catch any of this move? Nope. Haven't taken a single trade. I've watched every second of it. And I will not take a trade until I get it. I can't. There's nothing in my system that can help me get in this move. When the market opens and just rockets and never stops, there's nothing I can do about that. I need something to trigger an entry. And chasing moves like this is not triggering an entry. Yeah, I may have made a great amount of money just taking the trade, but that consistently over the long haul, that is not an actionable system. So what I would rather do is just look at other names, see if I can find a pivot, or just wait for this one pivots. So I'm not really one for chasing moves. Unfortunately, this has been happening so often. That's become commonplace the past 2 weeks. I might happen to catch yesterday's move, but that's the way it is. I have to have some sort of inventory pullback, inventory pivot to get me into a trade before I take stuff. I am convinced that chasing is not a consistent way. No, 100% it's not. 100% it's not. I've typically noticed on holiday weeks the market's usually green. Yeah. I'm out. Have a great 4th. On the menu is pizza. Beautiful. I love pizza. Is anyone a fan of the EMA balances for entries? Negative. If you're a fan of EMA bounces for entries, you are a fan of losing money. Close my SPY calls run under to 250. Nice side gig. How does the market respond if this bill in Congress passes before the early market close? I don't really know. There's a bunch of different takes on the market or on that bill. Obviously, some are pro economic expansion with that bill. Some are pro economic contraction with that bill. I don't know. I try not to get into the mindset of now. If we're playing the history of Trump with the stock market, it's going to rocket. Pretty much everything he does makes the market rocket because he's usually pro business. If I had to guess. Nice little top tick here. Well, I endorse you if you run for president. Absolutely. Absolutely. As long as you implement my policies. Do you think there still is some volatility because of tariffs over the market or overcome all of that? for the most part, I think it's overcome it. Obviously, if anything different happens, the market will respond. But that stuff that we saw in the first quarter, that's gone. In terms of tariffs, that's gone. Unless something fundamentally changes with that conversation, that's gone. For your information, I rarely take more than 2-3 trades a day. I change my instrument to YM. And nice. Beautiful, Damien. Well done, buddy. That's a beautiful thing to do. Free Gabagoo. That's right. I think I'm going to wait until next week to take my next payout. I don't know. I thought about doing it today, but I would like to start sizing up a little bit. I need a buffer. RTY is still down there. NASDAQ still flagging higher. Not a single material pullback since Wednesday morning. Just blast off, dude. Silver's definitely coming back off. Gold, a little bit. Platinum should be on your radar. Platinum's put on a double top rejection into this zone. Any ratio on buffer to number of contracts just depends on how you like your setup. My goal with prop firms is to trade it. My goal is to get to the point where I trade it the same way I trade my normal IBKR account, which is anywhere between 3 to 5 minis. That's where I keep it. That's my sweet spot. What are you looking for on PL? Well, this is my zone for rejection. Once we can finally clear and start reversing, I would like 1250. 1250 after that would lead down to 1140. Is there a chance there's absorption happening or smart money distribution right now? I see no signs of distribution. Zero. This is nothing but freight train. This is a big old giant green freight train. You know that? You remember that movie? I think it was called Maximum Overdrive. It was the 18-wheeler with a big green face on it. That's this market right now. So this is just off to the races. Yeah, this movie. That's the market right now. Were you looking at plus for platinum or PLU5 for platinum? Whatever the front running contract was. V5, PLV. TPT won't let me trade PL. Yeah, got to trade it on your other names or your individual brokerage. Where's Gaz right now? Usually Gaz is chiming in with how bullish this is by now. What's the difference between the bid and the ask and the COB? The COB in the book is basically your order flow that's on the book. Your bid and the ask is what's being offered at the bid and what's being offered on the ask. Whereas that's all active orders. What's up, Corey? Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for continually support the community. Hanging out with us day after day. It's good stuff. That's what I said. He must be sleeping, probably. Well, let me trade gold? Yes, you can trade gold. Yep. $23,006. What does this mean? I've not seen this on my BKR, but it's on my Quan Tower. That's the individual contracts. So the PL is the front run month, which means you select that, it'll pop up whatever their front run contract is. The others are the individual expirations of the P&L of platinum. So L, F, whatever they are. I'll have to look them up what they are, but right now we're on V, according to the front run contract on TradingView. I need to go. We'll be in the room off and on for the summer. Have an awesome 4th. Nice, Damien. I appreciate you being here, buddy. I keep you in my prayers. I hope things go well with your family. Which would I want to select? Hold on a second. I would do the front run, the top one that says PL front run month. That's what I would do, because it'll constantly update for you without you having to select it. But if you're going to manually select it, right now TradingView is front running PLV, Victor. I can see Bookmap on Discord, but can on YouTube. I can't see Bookmap on Discord. Yeah, on Discord I have to select one. I can only select one. Whereas YouTube I can stream both of them from Streamlabs. Look at Platinum here. It's definitely bouncing at the 1370. If they give out 1370, that's an actionable short to go lower, probably down to 1360 for today's session. This appears to be a bearish triangle, which is a pattern recognition for a bearish indication of absorption into support. So if something pivots on the weekly or monthly, how far out in a contract do you seek lengthwise? If I had to guess, strike is near the previous supply or demand zone. It all depends, really. Like if let's say I'm trading the S&P, ES, and we're coming down to a major monthly support that we've only touched one other time, I'm going to play pretty aggressively on that. 3, maybe 5 contracts, and I'm going to front run it pretty aggressively. I'm going to play it probably at or two or three points above that zone just so I can make sure I get entry. It all depends on the momentum. It depends on the environment, of course, so a couple of different factors. But I'm going to play much more aggressively than, let's say, just a prior day bounce. ES is still going. NASDAQ has a slight top wick, but the S&P is just rocket ships. Rocket ships. Still going. With a bearish triangle, what's the VPA signal that we look for then? Lower close. Hold on, let me bring up that chart, which was PL. So if you want to play this without, putting on a contract preemptively, you need to get under 1366 with acceptance. You need to show that there's more sellers than buyers on the chart. Right now, the buyers are still supportive. So you don't know if this is going to bounce and come back up to 1390 or even higher. You need to see that the buyers are gone, the sellers are here. You drop down with no volume. You do not want to see volume in this area. So if you're looking at PL right now, if we drop down and the price action hits this block, you do not want to see a big spike in volume. A big spike in volume would indicate support. You want a nice anticlimactic trudge right on through this area, acceptance of this prior candle, and then it's time to come down to probably this area, which is 1340. Support, a breach through support needs to be met with no resistance. NASDAQ looking similar to yesterday. Beautiful. I think everyone's already checked out for the holiday. Pretty boring. Pretty boring. Dropping back over. Hey, it's dropping back over. Would you enter on the retest of that support? You could. That's not a bad idea. Have you ever traded on the 1 minute? Yes, I have. Do I trade on the 1 minute now? No, I don't. ES still going. We do have this little liquidity right here at 23,040. We'll see if we could try to get that before going anywhere else. I'm not a crypto guy, just making an observation. Bitcoin has not really participated in this big rally. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't looked at Bitcoin. We'll see what we can do. We'll see if we can attack this 40 and get something going here. Remember, shortened holiday day. I would expect a lot of back and forth here for the remainder of the day. I'd be astonished if we got another big move, whether it be up or down. At least not until the final hour or so. See all this liquidity coming down? What is that? 040. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Starting to come off a little bit. So we just got through that little that support, the 20040. Now how far can they go? What's up, Andres? On a side note, I've been using Grok to set up a home solar backup system. It's been amazing. I would love to see your notes on that. My goal eventually is to put in a pretty robust solar array. I want to be completely off grid. Completely off grid. Because I want to get to the point where I can refuse to pay my property tax. And I need to be able to tell them to go take a hike. On a side note, I've been using Grok to set up. Alright, can the 5-minute candle on CL at 10:35 be considered an anomaly? No. We have a beautiful bottom wick. We have a big old volume. That's probably commensurate with what we're seeing here into support. I would like to get over 66.92 to kind of really confirm that the fact that that is a bullish move. It's so doable now? Interesting. Yeah, because look at compared to yesterday's move. If it was up there in that type of move, maybe bigger. I mean, that is definitely a bigger move for today, sure. But I think it's fine. Apparently, Trump and Putin are on FaceTime. Oh my gosh. See if we can grab this. What is this? 036? Man, what a weak rejection this is. Trump envoy plans nuclear talks with Iran. Yeah. What time is it? We got about 30 more minutes for the end of the stream. Whole lot of nothing. Whole lot of nothing. This actually looks like a bullish wedge to go even higher. I have to mute. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Here we go. Can't stand property tax. Show me the way off the grid living. Yep. If you're completely self-reliant, you don't have to pay property tax. No, they'll still want your property tax, so you'll have a bit of a fight on your hand. But if you're self-reliant, they can't cut your utilities. You know, you just have to find a way to get your water and get your electricity. And then, of course, you've got the legal battle of them trying to take your property. Just got the panels from A1 Solar Store. They sell in bulk, and you save 50% or more on panels. You get 430 watt panels for 136. Nice. That's amazing, Vampire. I'll have to look at it. Or Disable Vet. Yeah, but that's on a which I am, depending on state. Look, they got liquidity to 23,100. What's the options showing right now? Options are 2.5 billion in calls. Let me hit refresh. In fact, hold on a second. 2.5 billion in calls, 800 million in puts. Huge bottom hook on YM. Nice. I'm calling it a day. No trades for me. Have a good weekend. Nice, June. Appreciate you, buddy. Have a good 4th of July. Have a good week. I have plenty of water here in Wisconsin. There you go. Plenty of cheese, too. Oh, man. PL bottom wicked right into that area. SPX. Where is the trace indicator telling us the options resistance? 62.85 is the main resistance. 80.85 on SPX, which is about 10 points up. What a day, man. Interesting. Unusual Whales just posted, when threatened to be unplugged, Anthropic's AI model Claude lashed back at the by blackmailing an engineer and threatening to reveal an extramarital affair. That's a little weird. AI resorted to blackmail. That's a little nutty. That's a little nutty. Having a Ferrero Rocher chocolate milkshake. It's bussin'. Never heard of that. Sounds delicious. Today just feels like a learning day. Thank you for everything. I appreciate that highly. Yeah. Wish I could have got a piece of this, not going to lie. But that's okay. That Anthropic article is misleading. Probably. Probably. Skynet. Yeah. What do I think gold is going to do? Well, let's zoom out. Let's try to take opinion out of it. Let's look what the data is telling us. Gold, for the most part, has been dead flat since April. They have oscillated back and forth in a nice range. Don't get me wrong. You could have played a nice little range play, which we did play plenty of them. But in the macro theme, we're just, it appears to me, absorbing for another move higher. I'm not seeing any major signs of rejection. We've had a couple of nice high volume top wicks, but it hasn't been able to move lower. So as long as it holds above this area, and you could, whatever, pick your poison here. Anywhere in this area, as long as it holds above it, is an argument to maintain long position. If it takes out this, I would start being a little careful trying to long, or at least hold long, and because it may come on down and retrace. The issue remains. We had an incredibly bullish time when Trump was president the first 4 years. We're having an incredibly bullish start to his presidency now. An absolute rocket ship bullish move. Is that going to continue? That's the question everyone's answering. Because so far, his policies don't seem to be making that big of a negative difference. In fact, they're starting to become a positive difference. But what happens if it continues that way? Does the market continue to rocket ship? If that's the case, what does gold do in that case? Because gold has pretty much been used as a transfer of risk. So what happens to the gold if the equities continue to rocket beyond comprehension? That's the big question mark. Bostic is apparently releasing comments, so be careful. Fed Bostic is releasing comments. Labor market remains healthy. The U.S. is likely to see a period of high inflation. I see risk higher inflation could unanchor expectations. So I guess they're expecting higher CPI readings. We've been getting raw dairy from the Amish. It's 100% milk, but not the 2%. Oh yeah, that stuff is amazing. You ever tried making butter with it? It's fantastic. Have you ever tried to make homemade whipped cream? You'll never buy that whipped hydrogenated oil ever again once you have homemade whipped cream. And it takes like 3 minutes. It's great. Next time you go to the frozen food section and you want to buy one of those Cool Whips, instead I want you to go to the baking aisle where they have all the oil and say to yourself, would I open up this thing of vegetable oil and chug it? If your answer is no, then you probably don't want to buy that Cool Whip. That's all it is. Is it a full day of trading futures today? No, it is. No, it's not. They close early today. That Cool Whip song is so catchy. I don't know which one that is. Have a great 4th, my fellow neighbors. Nice, Dan. Kill it for me, bud. I wish I could play as much golf as you, man. That's my goal. I need to get back on the course. You'd think it would fall, but they know we know. You know, love me some Amish. Dude, they built a good portion of my home. Loved it. Locked out, break even. Have a great 4th. Project Arc X says the market closes in 5 hours. I was pretty certain the market closes early today. Am I wrong about that? I'll have to double check. I was fairly certain it closes early today. Cool Whip. Yeah. Alrighty. What do we got? ES is still going. ES is stronger than NASDAQ. Right here. What do we got going on? Couple of top wicks. Next 5-minute algorithm. Back and forth. Yep, this is what I figured. Crazy move to start the day off and then just absolute grind chop session for the rest of the day as we are now at a holiday volume. So, there you go. Message from my broker says normal day today and close early tomorrow. All right, I'm going to figure this out right now. bullish wedge about to break right here. Let's see, 2025, July 4th. Um, the markets will close early at 1 p.m. on Thursday, July 3rd. NYSE, and all trading sessions will close at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So apparently, according to this, according to the NYSE, the markets will close a little bit early. 2358. Now markets are going to break here. They're coming up. To the top of the range. About to break. Not a single material pullback since 7 o'clock Wednesday morning. After the biggest V recovery in market history. It's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Do I watch any Formula One racing? I do not. I don't. Honestly, I don't watch any sports, unfortunately. I just don't have the time. $23 100. Crazy how aggressive the index and most stocks seem to be chilling out. Wrecked a lot of people. Yep. Burry also said sell at the bottom. Yeah, Burry said sell and Trump said buy. Literally, the day we bounce is when Trump said this is a good day to buy stocks. Best furu ever. If Trump says anything about the market prices being high, I'm full porting shorts. 100%. If Trump says anything about that, which he never will because, that'll make him look bad, I would absolutely do that. Do you think it's wise to adjust some of our long-term investments? I don't know, man. Back in 2023, I was speculating on reducing my risk in my long-term port, and I'm glad I didn't because the market still is recovering to the degree we've never seen before. We've now had 3 generationally changing V recoveries that we've never seen before in as many years. So who knows? I have no idea. No idea when the market is going to decide to pull back. And when it goes into a normal mode. Does it ever go into a normal mode? So my only thesis is you still, regardless of what the price action is, you have to maintain the 20 to 30 to 40 year outlook, which means buy the S&P and never stop and never sell. So open up, and if you haven't already, open up an IBKR right now, buy a share of S&P, and then do it every week, every month, every quarter, and never stop. How many of you thought bubble mode was insane? Oh, me, 100%. 100%. 100%. I thought this was nutty. There's no way. I would have bet every dime of my net worth that we would not be at this price 3 months ago. There's no way. Bouncing, that's one thing, but bouncing to this degree, it's insane. And it might get crazier. Yeah. The market feeds on liquidity, and with as much, we have been absolutely pounded with terribly negative bearish news the past 4 years. Everything: global war, World War II, nuclear war, rate cuts, destroyed market. Trump's going to kill everyone. All this kind of crap, and the market just keeps on feeding. It's like that scene in Nightmare on Elm Street where he cuts off all his fingers, and he's like, "I just keep on ticking." Because as long as you continue to short, the market's going to continue to go up. You are just rocket fuel every time you take a short. You are the liquidity. That's right. Rate cuts increase liquidity, though. The problem is, unfortunately, their FOMC decision is politically motivated right now. So it's not we're not getting the true representation of what markets needs to do to rate cut. So it's hard to see increase. Yeah, it's hard to see. Tariff rates July 9th. So we do have a tariff deadline coming back on Wednesday. Any plans for tomorrow? Yeah, we're having a big get together. I'm smoking some pork, blow stuff up. Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, y'all. I'm going to wrap this up. Everyone's already gone anyway. Stream's like already cut in half. The market's not moving. It's probably going to continue to go higher. We haven't had a single material pullback in 48 hours. So, yeah, it's a shortened, low volume holiday and ridiculously bullish day. So, in my opinion, take it easy, man. We've had a an amazing couple of weeks. I'll post a couple of reviews in the Signals channel. I've got a podcast coming out today, so be on the lookout for that. I'll post the links. But yeah, appreciate our country's independence from the true enemy, King George. Taxation without representation. Go about your day, enjoy it, and hope you have a fantastic holiday tomorrow. Obviously, no stream tomorrow. Obviously, there's no trading. So I'll be back on Monday for another bright, early day, an amazing week. Hope you have a fantastic day, man. I'm out. See you.